My name is Clara Jennings, and I'll never forget the way my husband, Adam, smirked that afternoon, the arrogance dripping from his voice as he waved a stack of papers in my face. "Sign or get out," he said, standing in the living room of the house I had bought, furnished, and turned into a home. The man I once loved looked at me like I was disposable. He thought he was in control. But what he didn't know was that I had already learned the art of silence, and how silence can shatter arrogance more than shouting ever could. We'd been married for 8 years, and from the outside, our life looked perfect. A big house, luxury cars, and expensive vacations, the image of a power couple. But behind closed doors, Adam had become someone else. He used to be kind and supportive when I met him, a struggling architect with dreams that I believed in. I had invested in his firm, funded his projects, even paid for his office when things were tight. Slowly, as the money started coming in, he began to change. He became distant, controlling, and entitled. He started treating me like an accessory, not a partner. When I discovered he'd been seeing someone else from his firm, I wasn't shocked, just numb. Her name was Lila, a young designer barely out of college. I found out through a careless text that popped up on his phone while he was in the shower. "Last night was amazing. Can't wait till she's gone for good, red hearts." I stared at it for a long time, not crying, not raging, just realizing the man I thought I knew was gone. I took a screenshot and quietly sent it to my email. I didn't confront him immediately. Instead, I started documenting everything: bank statements, property titles, firm transactions, and all the messages that hinted at his affair. 2 weeks later, he came home with that same cocky grin, holding the divorce papers. "You're going to sign these," he said. "The house, the cars, the savings, all joint property. Let's not make this ugly." His tone made it clear he thought I'd roll over and obey. "I'll give you time," he added, tossing the papers on the coffee table like he was doing me a favor. I looked at him and smiled slightly. "Sure, Adam. I'll think about it." That night, while he slept, I packed my essentials, my documents, my laptop, and the one thing he didn't realize, the deed of the house. He'd always assumed it was under both our names because we'd bought it after marriage. What he didn't know was that my father had insisted it be bought under my trust, as a form of security. Adam never read the fine print. He just signed whatever I put in front of him when we purchased it. The next morning, I visited my lawyer, Mr. Hayes, the same man who handled all my investments. He glanced through the divorce papers and smirked. "He's trying to claim everything," he said. "But don't worry. He's standing on sand." We prepared our own legal response, attaching proof of the property's true ownership and evidence of Adam's affair, which in our state could heavily affect settlement terms. I left the office feeling calmer than I had in weeks. When Adam returned home that evening, he was on the phone with Lila, laughing. He looked up and said, "Oh good, you're still here. So, did you sign?" I handed him an envelope. "Not exactly," I said. He opened it, expecting signed divorce papers, and froze. Inside were copies of his text messages, screenshots, and a legal notice informing him that I was filing for divorce instead, on grounds of infidelity. His smirk disappeared. "You're bluffing," he said, voice shaking. "You can't prove." "I can," I interrupted softly. "And I will." A week later, he tried moving out and demanded his share of the property. That's when he found out the truth. The house, the cars, and even part of his company equity had been purchased through my trust. The court dismissed his claim within minutes. The judge even reprimanded him for attempting to mislead about ownership and conceal marital assets. His reputation took a hit when the affair surfaced publicly, especially since Lila's internship had started under him, a fact the firm didn't take kindly to. By the end of it, he lost not just the house, but his position at the firm. Lila vanished soon after the scandal broke. I never gloated. I didn't need to. Watching his arrogance crumble in silence was enough. Months later, I stood outside my new office, a consulting firm I'd started with the settlement I was fully entitled to. As I locked up for the evening, I saw Adam across the street, waiting tables at a small restaurant. Our eyes met for a brief moment. He looked away first. Sometimes life has a way of returning the balance quietly. You don't need to yell, beg, or break down. You just need to know your worth and act when the time is right. Adam mocked me, tried to break me, and thought I'd crumble. But he forgot one thing. You can't evict strength from a house that was built on it.